to live long, better. Live longer, age better. A brand new fitness feature from the Not Old Better Show and the American Council on Exercise, ACE. This is where science meets strength, and aging is just another word for thriving. Joining us always is Dr. Sabrena Jo, Senior Director of Science and Education at the American Council on Exercise. She's here to break down the real research and share how movement, mindset, and motivation can help you live longer and age better. Get ready to move smarter, feel stronger, and live fully. And now, here's your host, the award-winning Paul Vogelzang.
Thank you, and welcome to Live Long Better. Live Longer, Age Better, our brand new fitness feature from the Not Old Better Show and the American Council on Exercise. I'm Paul Vogelzang, and I am honored to be with you today. My guest, as always, is Dr. Sabrena Jo, the Senior Director of Science and Education at the American Council on Exercise. You are hearing that familiar intro music, and I hope it brings you right into the space we've created for insight, optimism, and action. Today's episode is all about how to stay strong, mobile, and motivated, even when the days are short and the sidewalks are slippery. You know, as the weather cools down, it's tempting to trade our sneakers for slippers and declare hibernation season is officially open. But here's the thing. Movement is medicine, as Dr. Sabrena Jo tells us. And for those of us over 50, staying active in the winter months isn't just about burning off the extra slice of pie. It's about keeping our independence, protecting our joints, and warming up our muscles, quite literally. Joining us, as always, is Dr. Sabrena Jo, a longtime advocate for aging and the Senior Director of Science and Education at the American Council on Exercise. She's not here to lecture. She's here to guide us through the real, practical strategies that can keep you moving safely and joyfully through the season. We will talk about how the body changes in cold weather, how to warm up effectively, what indoor routines actually work, and where the 6 pillars of wellness, you are hearing more and more about that from Dr. Jo, where they fit in to the winter wellness plans that we make, including purpose, social connection, and stress relief. If you've ever felt stiff getting out of bed on a chilly morning or wondered whether it's safe to keep exercising with joint pain, this episode is for you. So grab a warm drink, maybe stretch a little bit in your chair. Let's get into it with Dr. Sabrena Jo. You're listening to Live Long Better, and I'm your host, Paul Vogelzang. Dr. Sabrena Jo, always good to talk to you. Great to see you again. Hope you're well. And we're getting to that time of year where we're going to talk about the cold weather in respect to being outdoors. But again, welcome.
Thank you. And sweater weather is upon us, and I'm here for it.
That's great.
It's good to be here.
Great. Yeah, I love it. Sweater weather. Absolutely. Let's talk about some fitness tips, especially for our older adult audience, making sure to keep those muscles warm in cold weather. And I think it's probably a good idea always to kind of start with the basics. What is it about colder weather that just seems to make our muscles tighter, stiffer, especially as we age a little bit?
Well, you're not imagining things. You are correct. Many people notice that their muscles and joints feel stiffer when the weather turns cold. And there's actually some real physiological reasons for that. When the temperatures drop, the blood vessels constrict and they do this to conserve heat. So it brings more of the blood to the central internal organs. But what that means is that there's less blood and therefore less oxygen and nutrients that are reaching your more external muscles and joints. And that reduced circulation can make tissues feel tighter and less pliable. And for older adults specifically, this can be a bit more noticeable because connective tissues naturally lose some of their elasticity as we age. And then there's a substance called synovial fluid, which is the substance that lubricates our joints. And that can become a bit less viscous when it gets colder. So if you combine that with what's typically less daily movement as the weather gets colder in the winter months, it's easy to see why muscles can feel sluggish or stiff until you warm them up. But the good news is that movement itself restores circulation and warmth. And so even gentle activity is the perfect antidote for winter stiffness.
That's great. I love it. I always learn these new terms. Synovial fluid. That's wonderful to
Yes.
know. So that helps. I'm a walker. I love to get outside, and as I always share with you, I go out and I walk our dog, and many of our listeners and viewers now too. They enjoy that. But in the winter, it's not always practical to get out there. Some people just don't want to brave that weather. So maybe give us an idea about some of the safe indoor alternatives that are safe, but that are equally effective in terms of supporting our strength and our mobility, just as walking does.
Sure. Well, walking is a great all around exercise, but yes, icy sidewalks and cold wind can make it tricky doing it outdoors. So the key is finding ways to keep moving that feels doable indoors. So a few of my favorites are, for those who have access to them, exercise machines such as stationary cycles and treadmills, elliptical trainers, and stair climbers are hard to beat.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, Exercising on cardio equipment keeps us safe indoors when the weather makes it impractical to be outside, but it can also provide a challenge that's different than what we're used to when we walk outside. So, for example, you can manipulate the incline or the resistance on cardio machines to introduce a new aspect to your training that you might not normally get when you're walking on your regular path. But I realize that not everyone has access to those machines. So either gym access or just in-home access. That's not for everyone.
Hmm.
So other options are marching or stepping on a low step in place in home while watching TV or listening to music could be good for some people.
Hmm.
Um, Body weight strength exercises like sit to stand squats from a chair or countertop push-ups or gentle heel raises are also options. And these exercises challenge the large muscles of the lower and upper body, but then there's this added dose of balance work at the same time.
Hmm.
And then, of course, there's always an in-person or online group classes for things like yoga, tai chi, or low-impact cardio. And those add that special connection piece, which helps keep motivation strong during the winter months when perhaps you're not socializing as much. And they are ways to maybe think about your winter training as a seasonal training where, oh, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to introduce some new movements to keep my body fresh and perhaps introduce some cross training so that there's a less risk of overtraining from doing the same thing over and over, like walking on your favorite path all the time. So maybe reframe it as, hey, I get to do something a little bit new, maybe more interesting. And then as a reminder, I'll just say that even short movement snacks throughout the day, just 5 minutes at a time, can help maintain health and improve mood.
That's great. I like that. Short, just little snacks. Think about it as just a little bite there. That I think that's perfect. One of the things that I love about the idea of doing indoor exercise to a video is that it keeps me a little bit more on a regular pace. I know kind of generally a distance that I'm going to be accomplishing when I'm outdoors. I know about that 1 mile mark. I know about that 2 mile mark. And I know in terms of time. Sometimes when I'm inside, I tend to go a little bit shorter just because I'm not paying as close attention. A class keeps me on track. A video keeps me on track. And I think that's really helpful.
Yeah, and we really do. I mean, with technology, we just
Yeah.
have at our fingertips so much variety, and sometimes it's just that. In addition to that social piece, it's just that extra layer of kind of newness and interest to maybe keep those cold winter months a little more active.
Yeah, the classes that are available online, some of the video stuff, they always include a warm up too. And I think sometimes that might be a forgotten piece in our cold weather approach because we want to maybe just get out there, get it done, and then get back in. But you have to remember that warm up, that kind of that pre-routine kind of idea that you just need to make sure and get your body adjusted so that you are able to kind of overcome some of the routines of winter. Talk to us a little bit about the importance of that. How should we kind of adjust this pre-workout idea so that we're ready for the cold weather workout once we get into it?
Yes, you're right. So warm-ups are always important, but in the winter, they become essential. In colder temperatures, you need a little more time to elevate your core temperature and your muscle temperature for optimal flexibility, mobility, and performance. So I often recommend adding 5 to 10 extra minutes to your normal warm-up routine. So think about starting slow with rhythmic movements that mimic your main activity. So, for example, if you're going to go for a brisk walk, you want to do some gentle walking, an extra 5 to 10 minutes before you really kick into high gear. Or if you're going to do some strength training, maybe some extra light arm circles and gentle lunges before you dive into your upper and lower body strength moves. Um, One thing to consider is to warm up indoors before heading outside if it's going to be an outside walk.
Mm.
So maybe do a few dynamic stretches, gentle squats, or climb a few stairs just to get your circulation going. And this not only primes the soft tissues and the nervous system to prepare you to increase your effort, but it also makes your workout feel a little more comfortable and therefore more enjoyable from the start.
Mhm.
And I'll add a side note here. For for those who are going to continue to be outside in the cold and exercise, which is great. I'm one of those people. I don't mind the cold. I kind of enjoy it.
Yeah.
You when you're exercising the cold, here's my side note. It's important to wear layers so that you can be warm at the beginning of your workout while you're warming up, and then as you get hotter and your core temperature starts to increase, you can start to peel off the layers as you become warmer because you don't want to overheat and then not be able to take layers off to cool down. And then as you start to end your routine, you can start to add the layers back on. So it might be something as simple as like a fleece sweatshirt or hoodie that you peel off as you get warm, tie it around your waist. And then when it comes time that you're cooling down, you want to get warm again, you put that fleece sweatshirt or hoodie back on. So just a simple reminder, but it's worth paying attention to.
That's super helpful. Thank you for that tip. Maybe give us another tip about those moments when older adults, older exercisers might be overdoing it and just not aware. In the summer months, it's easy to know just based on hydration and just the amount of sweat when we might be overdoing it. It might not be quite as obvious during the winter months, during these cold conditions. So maybe tell us a couple of tips about how to beware of that, but also maybe that we're not warming up enough for being outdoors.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept I haven't thought about before. But
Mm.
when you are warming up for your activity,
Mhm.
there are a few signs that you can tie into your warm up and how your body feels that will indicate whether you're allowing enough recovery time between sessions.
Mhm.
And so you'll see what I mean when we go through this list. So,
Yeah.
here are some red flags to pay attention to that maybe you're not warming up enough. Is first if you have any lingering stiffness or soreness that doesn't go away after the first few minutes of activity.
Mm.
I think last time we talked a little bit about the importance of recovery and the fact that gentle movement in between harder exercise sessions actually makes you feel good while you're doing the movement. And so same kind of principle applies. If you're stiff or maybe sore and you're going through your warm up and you've decided, okay, my warm up's over, I'm getting ready to get a little bit harder with intensity, if you're still stiff and sore, you're not warmed up yet. So just keep the gentle activity going a little bit longer until your stiffness has melted away. Also, joint pain that increases rather than decreases as you move. This can signal that tissues weren't adequately warmed, and it kind of ties into the first one that I mentioned. If you're outside and you're shivering or you're just feeling like this excessive fatigue, it can mean that your body is spending too much energy just trying to stay warm. So you're clearly not warmed up. And again, maybe doing a warm up inside and then going outside and continuing your exertion might be the trick there. And then I'll just say any sharp, um, you know, joint discomfort or pulling sensations in the muscles, these are signs to stop and reassess your warm up or your intensity. The goal is to feel looser and more energized as you move, not becoming tighter or chilled. So listening to those signals and adjusting accordingly can keep your winter workouts outside safe.
If you're just tuning in, we are talking with Dr. Sabrena Jo, the Senior Director of Science and Education at the American Council on Exercise, about staying strong, safe, and warm through the winter. And yes, that includes keeping your muscle moving, even when the thermometer says, stay inside. We've covered some excellent movement tips, but staying well in colder months goes beyond exercise alone. So now let's zoom out and look at how purpose, social connection, and even your mindset can help you live long and live better through the season. We will hear more about the 6 pillars of wellness, including how to use things like purpose and social connection to stay active and engaged during the winter months, because staying active isn't just about muscles, it's about meaning. Our guest, of course, is Dr. Sabrena Jo, who is the Senior Director of Science and Education at the American Council on Exercise. We're talking about cold weather, warm muscles, and some winter fitness tips from Dr. Jo in our ongoing series about Live Long Better. You can find out more information at our website. We can share that information in our show notes today. It's always so great to talk to Dr. Sabrena Jo. I want to talk to you for a second too, Dr. Jo, about those of us who are dealing with some kind of old age conditions like joint pain, like arthritis. How can some of this exercise, especially in the winter months, be manageable, be beneficial to us with some of those conditions? And how do we really avoid the things that aren't going to be helpful?
This is such an important point, because cold weather can make arthritis symptoms feel worse. But we know that avoiding movement often makes them even worse over time. So gentle, consistent activity actually helps keep joints lubricated and muscles strong, and both of these reduce pain. The trick is to move within your comfort range and choose low-impact options, such as stationary cycling that we talked about before, even water exercise or gentle strength training like we discussed before. And warm environments can make a big difference too. So consider exercising in a heated pool if you have access to that, or maybe do your mobility routine after a warm shower or bath when the tissues are more supple. Being warm from an external source like a bath or a shower isn't the same as raising your internal temperature through doing light activity, but it can help your muscles and joints feel better while you're getting into that warm up. And then remember, even a little movement every day maintains joint function and mood. So the key is consistency and not intensity.
Let's talk a little bit about mood. That's such an important component in all of this. You and I talk about it a lot, and we talk about community too. And often during the winter months when it's gray outside, it impacts our mood. It impacts our motivation even to go out and exercise. So give us some great go-to tips from Dr. Sabrena Jo about, staying consistent with that movement and doing so even when it is cold and dark and less inviting to kind of be outdoors.
Yes, motivation
Yeah.
naturally fluctuates with the seasons. So this is a big topic because I guess what I want to make clear is that motivation naturally shifts. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean you're failing. This is actually normal. So, when there are times when motivation kind of dips low, I like to remind people that making being active the easy choice starts with your environment.
Mhm.
So, in the winter, that means making your activity as accessible and as enjoyable as possible. So here are a few simple things that I recommend. First, set up a movement zone in your home.
Mm.
So a yoga mat, light weights, or resistance band that are in plain sight that can serve as a visual cue might make it easier just to pick those things up and do some quick movements. Next would be bundle movement with pleasure. So listen to your favorite podcast, for example, or schedule a virtual exercise date with a friend, your accountability buddy. You can hop on, have a virtual meeting and do some exercises together. Accountability plus enjoyment goes a long way. Um, you can shift your mindset from workout to warm up. So, um, perhaps you've had this experience on cold days.
Mhm.
You really just want to be warm. You feel like maybe drinking some hot tea or wrapping up in a cozy sweater, but you can think about moving your body as a effective and very productive way to warm up. So on cold days, just tell yourself you're going to just move for 5 minutes just to warm up your body. And then most people, once they get started, they'll actually end up doing more than just 5 minutes once they start, especially if you've got that movement zone where you've got some, very handy weights or mats where you can incorporate some other movements. And then finally, for motivation, I'll just add that try to track how movement makes you feel. And it can be as simple as just a mental note while you're doing it or after you're doing it, or you can, track it in a notes app. And you're not tracking your weights or your steps, but you're really paying attention to your energy, your fatigue, your how well you're sleeping, your mood. These positive patterns build long-term motivation because you can notice those immediately. So it's not something that takes several months to actually kick in. You can feel better. You can have a positive mood, for example, immediately after workout. So I would say focus on those things that make you feel good.
No, that's great. That's great. I love that. And we're going to highlight absolutely this idea of a movement zone as well as a virtual buddy accountability. I really think those are important pieces to all of this too, Dr. Joe. You talk an awful lot about functional fitness, and as we age, functionality becomes such an important component in our lives. And so I want to touch on that because maybe just remind us a little bit about what true functional fitness really is, but maybe give us one or two exercises that we can do in that movement zone inside that we're going to enjoy, but that will pay off.
Great question. I love this question. So, first of all, functional fitness. It's a buzzword, and all it means is preparing your body for real world activities. So, depending on what kind of activities you do, if you're a master's athlete, or if you're a person who just enjoys moving their body, going for a walk, those functional activities might look different from person to person. But the point being, anything that helps your body move better is a functional activity. And you don't need any fancy equipment to do it. So I'll give you two of my favorite go-to exercises. And these are very easily done in the home without special equipment, and certainly in the winter or any time of the year. So
Mhm.
the first is got to be my favorite. It's the sit to stand, also called a chair squat.
Mhm.
So you sit in a sturdy chair and you stand up you try to do this without using your hands. Sometimes you'll notice that when people stand up, they lean on the chair rails, or they'll put their hands on their thighs to stand up. Your goal is to try to do it without any hand assistance. And then stand up from the chair and then sit slowly back down. So this strengthens your legs, your hips, your core, and these are all muscles that you rely on for everything from getting out of the car to climbing stairs. So if you were to take a few minutes, find that sturdy chair, do 10 to 15 repetitions, and then move on to my next favorite, which I'll explain now, and that is the countertop push-up. So you can place your hands on a countertop or even the back of a couch, as long as it's sturdy and it's not going to slide on you. Step back a bit and then do a gentle push-up. Go down as low as your joints feel comfortable going, and then push yourself back up again. So this keeps your shoulder joints healthy, and it builds upper body strength and stability for things like pushing open a heavy door. So again, if you were to do 10 to 15 repetitions of this countertop push-up, after you did the sit to stand squat or the chair squat, then that would take about 5 minutes. And once you got really good at it, you could do more cycles of that. But again, these are just little movement snacks that you can introduce, and they provide functional fitness to help you perform activities of daily living. So they can be done in a small space with no special equipment. And I really think they translate directly to better function and confidence.
So helpful, always. Well, I can't let you go without touching on the 6 pillars. We've been talking about the 6 pillars of wellness over the past few episodes of our program, Live Long Better. And I want to ask you today about the 6 pillars in relation to winter months, because certainly you've impressed upon me and all of our audience this idea that, stress management, motivation, social connection, purpose, all are very important. How do we really take into account these ideas of purpose and social connection and staying active during these cold winter months?
Well, the pillars are still there. They don't change based on the seasons.
Yeah.
So, again, physical activity, so important for all the reasons we already discussed today. And I really like to think of winter months physical activity as a different training season, even if that means you're doing stuff in your home, using your home equipment, whether that be your countertop or a chair or some yoga mats and some weights. So that kind of leads into getting your body warm, feeling good. Anytime that you're able to move with friends, that accountability buddy, if you can do it virtually, that adds that social component, and you're both moving, so that's great. Or take an online class if you can. And then we've got that the sleep, and of course the time changer if you're in one of those places where daylight saving time happens to change. Really important to stay on top of your sleep habits. I know it's always hard once that time changes, but if you can take, some intentional time to try to be mindful of when you're waking and sleeping to get back into a normal rhythm, it becomes, a little bit of an issue right after that daylight savings time change. So just pay attention to that in terms of sleep, nutrition, hydration, avoidance of the risky substances, if you can, or limit them in moderation if you can. All that stuff still applies in winter. I find that with winter months, with the celebrations and the holidays, a lot of times the nutrition and the risky substances can kind of be a little bit more challenging for some people. So, enjoy yourself, but at the same time, be mindful.
Dr. Sabrena Jo, Senior Director of Science and Education at the American Council on Exercise. I always just so enjoyed talking to you. Thank you for all of your work, for being such a willing contributor to all of this, because it does matter. The social connection piece is so important, especially during winter months when we think about cold weather and warm muscles. I know we're going to talk more in the future about all of these things, especially the 6 pillars of wellness. I can't wait to hear more about your aerialist work. I know our audience is just captivated by all that you do, but thank you for your time today. It's just so enjoyable to talk with you, and have a great rest of your day, and we will catch up to you soon.
Thanks, Paul. This is always the best part of my day. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
That's it for today's episode of Live Long Better. Live Longer, Age Better, our brand new fitness feature from the Not Old Better Show and the American Council on Exercise. A huge thank you to Dr. Sabrena Jo, the Senior Director of Science and Education at the American Council on Exercise, for reminding us that age isn't a limit, and neither is the weather. Whether it's a hallway walk, a chair stretch, or calling a friend to share your fitness goals, the choices we make, even in winter, set the tone for how we age. Movement matters, mindset matters, and yes, staying warm matters too. If you enjoyed this conversation, you want more ways to keep moving through the seasons of life, visit us at notold-better.com to catch this episode and hundreds more from our back catalog. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Instagram at NotOldBetter and on X, formerly Twitter, at NotOldBetter for daily inspiration and updates. This is a production of NOBS Studios. I'm Paul Vogelzang. Thank you for spending time with us today. Be well, be safe. Let's talk about better. The Not Old Better Show. Let's stay warm. Let's stay strong. And join me again next time. Thanks, everybody.